All right, so just when we thought things might be okay, this happened. The European Union, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade, or is it really? I think there's other reasons, but anyway, they got powerful trade barriers and VAT taxes, and yeah, they do. It's ridiculous the amount of things that they have. Anyway, the point is he's going to put 50% tariff on the European Union starting next week, June 1st. And of course, the markets don't like that at all. So here's the S&P 500, the daily. We have that nuke here. So yeah, so this is where the announcement came out. All right, nuke down, then bounce, and then we're sort of just hovering back at support, right? Markets didn't like it. I mean, and why would they? Yeah, they thought things were okay-ish. We had some clarity at least. With the China deal. I mean, that's still, that 90-day pause thing is still in effect, right? So what happens when that comes due is another thing. But whacking 50% on Europe, markets don't like it. So it tanked, and therefore it also made Bitcoin tank. It was doing really well. It was decoupling from the S&P, but just bad news all around makes everything go down. So, but at least it's stopping here. So, which is, roughly bouncing off the double top that we had here, right? So there was the previous all-time high here of 109-ish. What is it? 109,588 on Binance. So we passed that. New all-time highs at 111,800, and then we've come all the way back to previous double top. TA wise, normal. The reason for it, not normal. I mean, who the hell goes and puts 50% tariffs on the European Union? It's all so tiresome. Anyway, this area here was, not much going on. That's why I haven't really been doing any. Oh, sorry. This is the daily. I'm getting confused. My brain is fried. This area here, so this is from the 9th of May. So like the entire month of May almost has been pretty boring, like sideways. So the only exciting stuff is like if you've been in the trenches, or there's been a few meme coins that have done okay, but nothing compared to making it to like 200 million or 300 million market cap or anything like that. But that's where the excitement's been. In majors, it's just been boring sideways stuff, and we haven't really had any news. But then we had the China clarity thing, and then we started going up. And now we've just had the tariff thing for Europe, and we're back down again. So the roller coaster continues, but Bitcoin's looking pretty good still, right? If we fall below this, then it could start a new bear trend. It just really depends on what the fallout is of the European Union stuff. And you love it how Trump will do these sorts of messages on a Friday afternoon. Yeah, markets close. All right, let's say something outrageous. Then everybody has the weekend to figure out what they're going to do, at least, I guess. But, man, anyway, so yeah, Bitcoin, totally fine. We're at all-time highs. I think it's a case of what we've fallen 3.9%. It's just like, we're at all-time highs, but what's he going to do next? Nobody knows. Ethereum is in a similar spot, just like way lower, but just making it to new local highs and then coming back to support. Solana is in a similar situation. It was breaking out. It was going to keep going, but now it's back within this range again. The ETH BTC chart is still terrible. Oh, all these old lines on here. Get rid of that. So here's previous resistance. There's support, support, support. It's flipped to resistance. It hasn't broken that. It had that huge pump, which was completely community driven because nobody in the institutions were buying it. During this week, during that week there, if you go look at the stats from who brings that out? Actually, I'll grab it. Okay, so here's the Ethereum ETF flows, right? You got BlackRock, Fidelity, Bitwise, 21 Shares, VanEck all across the top, right? There's the date. This is the week of that pump. Red, red, red. Nobody bought here. Red, red, red. 1 day of buying. And it was only 17. And only BlackRock were doing it, right? 17. And then they sold it the very next Monday. So it wasn't institutions buying it. That doesn't fill me with confidence, right? So the only way for ETH to go up is for everyone else to buy it because it doesn't look like the institutions are excited. Recently, they have been, right? Here, you see that recently? But what's happened recently? Recently, in the last 2 weeks, it's gone sideways and done nothing. Versus Bitcoin, right? So, see? This is just the Ethereum versus the dollar. It's done jack. Nothing. Bitcoin up. The thing that concerns me with Bitcoin now is that we're drawing in a bear div on the weekly, right? So here, and this green line down here is the RSI. So that's going down like this. So there's the swing high on the RSI. Here's the current swing high here. It's lower than this one, so it's going down. Here's price, and here's price again. This is lower than this one. This one's higher. So the line is going up. This line is going down. That's a divergence. This is a bearish thing. We don't want this. We want RSI to be going up if price is going up. But it's not. If bad news continues out of the US with all this tariff stuff or whatever, this is going to come back. So do not start going in heavy into anything until this resolves, until we figure out what's happening. So, going in heavy now, that's about the state of the charts. All the alts, like everything's just pulled back because of this news. Like Bitcoin pulls back, so alts just get hammered. So that's just the way of it. So let's look at the news instead, because there's been a few good things happening. Solana is having an Accelerate conference at the moment, which is aimed at developers and the community, the builder community. So there's a lot of news items coming out about Solana's ecosystem. There's a couple of cool things, so which I have liked over the week, so we can run through them quickly. So we've got, this is only just like in the last 3 hours. The Solana attestation service, a new open source permissionless protocol to attest to anything, the trust layer for the internet capital markets. Cool. Fluid, which is coming over from Ethereum. They're going to be a lending protocol. They're going to be working with Jupiter. So that'll compete with Camino and MarginFi. So that's good. More competition's good. Let's see here. Bitcoin ETF net flows for the week so far have been quite high. So it's like $1 billion, which is, if you look at the graphs here, it's pretty much all-time highs, which is helping Bitcoin go up, right? Which is good. Doge is coming to Solana. It's going to be powered by Wormhole, so keep your eye on that one. So you got Ondo Global Markets is doing on-chain trading of public securities on Solana. Also very good. This is more stuff with tokenized assets. So this R3 quarter, that's coming to Solana. The Solana Seeker phone That's getting released. I think it was August 4. It's getting shipped finally. And there's a token that goes with it. So this SKR token, and here's the presentation of it. So good stuff there. Here's a summary. What's this? Kraken launches tokenized stocks on Solana. Yes, that's another one. Kraken is doing tokenized stocks. And they chose Solana. So there you go. It's not just memes. Gavel, that's a new DEX. Yes. So apparently sandwich resistant. So we'll see how that pans out. Yeah, the mobile phone I've just talked about. Securitized partners with Camino for leveraged looping strategies. There's another tweet about that. Camino is launching Lend version 2. That'll be interesting too. Ledger, the hardware wallet manufacturer, is launching a Solana edition hardware wallet. And to be fair, it just looks like their normal with like Solana branding on it. So like there's no special Solana functionality or anything, but if you're into that sort of thing. But for those of you that are getting the Solana phone, that's a hardware wallet in itself, so you don't need it. 00 is going to announce their launch this fall, so that's good. Yes, so the Sui, right? So they got hacked. Everyone's decentralized until they get hacked. Yes. So they lost $223 million out of Cetus. So Cetus is a decentralized exchange. So think of, it's the Uniswap of Sui, right? And it got hacked. $223 million worth of tokens got stolen, and it caused the collapse of the entire, the prices of every single token on Sui just went to zero, basically, because all the USDC got taken, Sui got taken, like the whole lot, right? And then obviously if there's no USDC, you can't pair it with anything, so therefore it's valueless. So all the tokens start going to zero, people start panicking and they sell as well. It's just, a race to the bottom. The Sui validators in the ecosystem, they shut it down. So they paused the network and they blocked wallets related to the guy, right, that's doing the stealing. And here's a comment, right? So you might as well use a centralized sequencer if validators are just going to blacklist addresses. So there's two sides to the argument that I'm seeing online, right? So one side is crypto is supposed to be permissionless and censorship resistant. That's the whole point. Otherwise, you just use centralized services. We may as well just stick with TradFi. The other side is if you've got an opportunity to stop a theft, right? And because there's like real people with real money, are you just going to let it walk out the door? Right? That's the other argument. You're seeing a theft. Are you going to stop it? You got the power to stop it. What are you going to do? Well, are we a decentralized blockchain or are we a centralized blockchain? Something I didn't know until all of this start coming up is that Sui's token supply is pretty centralized too. So apparently there's only like 2 or 3% in circulation and the foundation holds everything else. That's more of a concern to me because, you can decentralize over time, right? So like in the early stages, I would be, doing things to protect users. Like that's what I would do in the early stages, but you need to be moving towards a decentralized permissionless thing. Otherwise, what's the point, right? What's the point of it all? In the early stages, I'm okay with it. But if they keep on the path, it's not going to make it. Yeah, so sad times for Sui holders. Sui, the token, actually didn't tank that hard, and that's probably due to the fact that most of the supply is in control by the Sui Foundation. Haven't actually checked it in a while. Look at that. Like, it's just nothing, right? Sideways. And only today it's gone down because of the tariff news. That's crazy, right? Sui's ecosystem got completely wiped out and they shut it down in a centralized manner. If that happened on another chain, like Solana, let's just say that's happened on Solana right now. Solana the token would just tank. It'd be huge, 20, 30% easy in a candle. Imagine if Uniswap got hacked and all the money was stolen and USDC went to zero, right? And ETH, like, it's all stolen. Some guy like sells it all and puts it through Tornado Cash and wrecks every single pool that there is. It's over. And that's effectively what happened on Sui, and nothing. Centralization has its benefits, I guess, huh? But anyway, USDC on Sui depegged to zero. Yeah, because someone removed all the liquidity. Yes. Okay, Sui relies you a lot of mantra. They have complete control over the token supply. 25% float. Never did an airdrop to the community. Yeah, they did a public token sale. 2.25% of the supply at launch. The rest is owned by investors and the foundation. Yeah. So that, from a retail perspective, that's not a good deal. 70 million market cap to 1 million in a single 1 minute candle. 98. Yeah, what token is this? Lo-Fi Sui. Yeah, Lo-Fi Sui. That's what happened. So there's the hack. Boof. Everything. So imagine that with everything on a blockchain, because that's what happened. And then imagine that on Ethereum or Solana. Wow. Gone. Ecosystem wrecked. Raig writes, Seychelles company struck off for non-compliance with the law. Tulip trading's dead. Wrights international investments are dead. Like, everything's done. So good. Camino V2, that's what I talked about before. There's a new lending market. They're upgrading their stuff. So check that out if you're into that. VanEck is going to launch a new private Web3 fund on Avalanche. Raoul Pal apparently has 70% of his portfolio in Sui. The Sui token itself didn't crash that much. We just saw that, but hopefully he doesn't hold any Sui tokens. Centrifuge launches tokenized short-term US securities on Solana. More securities, more reward assets. Good. FIFA signs a partnership with Avalanche to build its own blockchain. Also good. MicroStrategy buys more Bitcoin because of course they do. I've said this before, Kraken is launching stocks on Solana. Very cool. The former SafeMoon CEO, John Carney, is that how you spell his name? I'll say it anyway. He got convicted on all charges. Good. Took a while, but the law catches up. Yes, this happened a couple of days ago, the 22nd. So there was a terrible bond market auction, and yeah, it was awful. Nobody wanted to buy US treasuries, right? So was it Moody's that came out, the ratings agency? They came out recently in last few days and said they downgraded the US like for the first time in like 100 years or something. Buying US treasuries is just risky now because of all the tariff stuff and Trump doing crazy things. So nobody wanted to buy the US treasuries. They're usually like the safest thing ever. So they were demanding more interest in order to buy it to offset the risk of buying it, right? Nobody was buying it, right? So the stock market tanks because of that. Just confidence is just not there. I don't blame them. I'm not confident. I think that's probably why, in part, we are not super exuberant about the new all-time highs, right? Everyone's like, it's either one or two things. We're all nervous because we're getting to a good spot and we've been burnt before, right? Even just in the last few months. Oh, we're gonna moon. And then what happens is it just pulls back because of something. Not because of Bitcoin, but because of something else. Be some macro thing. Trump says something dumb. Europe says something dumb. China says something dumb, right? So there's that. And then there's the other thing, I think, that if we just go back to here, here's January. So this is like the peak of when, the Trump token came out. And then the tariff stuff started happening. This period here, I reckon a whole lot of people got wrecked. And they've just fallen off and then haven't come back, right? This is a big drop. Everyone was panicking. The world economy is going to be fucked and Trump's going to ruin everything. And I wish Kamala was president, all that shit. People got wrecked here and they didn't make it. And then there's another section of people that just don't own Bitcoin at all. And they just are all in on alts and memes or Ethereum, right? Solana's doing okay, but even that pulled back a lot, right? So there's a lot of people that just they're not overweight Bitcoin. If you're not overweight Bitcoin, you're having a bad time, unless you sold in January or November last year. Hyperliquid's doing really well lately. Here's a chart of Hyperliquid versus Binance spot volumes, right? Hyperliquid's in the cyan color here. It's going up. They're getting more volume. 42% weekly versus 58% for Binance. Right? Look at that. See, that's where the line goes up. It's hard to see, but that's where it goes up. If you want to know why Binance doesn't list Hype, that'd be why. But yeah, they're doing really well. Good. Again, more competition gives us a decentralized permissionless option to trade on, right? Because Coinbase customer service is terrible. Binance can shut down their withdrawal things whenever they want. But, Hyperliquid doesn't do that. Yeah, and there's this whale at the moment who uses this account here, James Wynn. He's leveraging for like a total order book or order size of like over $1 billion is the total value. He's on like 40x leverage. He's risking, I think it's about 25 million or 40 million or something like that. And then he's leveraged up to the tits and with a total size of over $1 billion. With like a liquidation price of, actually, I don't know what his liquidation price is now because this was a couple of days ago. And with that news from the tariffs, it's only 107K, so he should be all right. But he's doing it on Hyperliquid, so everyone can see his position. That's another thing too. Like if you wanted to, you could hunt somebody's position. Be a bit hard to do on Bitcoin, but even still, good on him. Hopefully he wins. I would hate to see that guy get liquidated. We need, a win for the people. I don't know. There's some conjecture as to who this person is. Some people reckon it's like Trabuco, like from Alameda, and that's like a fake account name. So yeah, who knows? Canary Capital files for a US Solana ETF, which includes staking, which is a big thing. Okay, because right now with the ETH ETF, there's no staking. ETH, you can stake, obviously, and get a yield, but in the ETF, you can't, which in my opinion is why one of the reasons it's underperformed, right? Because from a TradFi perspective, you got two options if you want to get exposure to crypto via an ETF. It's Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? So you got digital gold, hard money, and then you got Ethereum, which isn't any of those things, but it does have smart contract stuff, right? But that's got nothing to do with the ETF. You can't buy the ETF and then, jump into DeFi with it. You're just buying it because you think capital appreciation, which it isn't doing versus Bitcoin. Versus Bitcoin, it's been tanking for years, like almost 3 years. So why would you buy the Ethereum one? You wouldn't, which is why everyone's buying Bitcoin. Plus on top of that, you got Michael Saylor going on his marketing trip around the world telling everyone how to do it. There is no Ethereum ETF evangelist, right? Saylor's just throwing gasoline on the fire, right? But Solana has the ETF with the staking. TradFi know what yield is. And if ETH ETF had yield, the TradFi guys would go, oh, okay, so I can buy Bitcoin, which is good, or I could buy this other one, which is similar, but it has a yield built in. Now, I don't give a shit about the price of ETH, but I like the yield, so I can just buy it and then hedge it with something else, options or perps or futures or whatever, right? So they'll hedge it, have no delta to price. They'll be price agnostic. It won't matter, but they'll just be getting all this yield. And then they'll sell the yield for an income for their customers, right? But they can't do that. But with the Solana ETF, if it makes it through with staking, they will be able to do it. So now you've got an option. If you're a TradFi guy, you got the option now. Do I buy a smart contracts platform ETF, Ethereum, that has no yield? Or do I buy the one that does have yield and all the users and all the transactions and all the volume and all the revenue and all that stuff underneath, which I can't get to anyway, but it's the more popular one at the moment, and it's doing better versus Bitcoin than Ethereum is. And it has yield. Which one are you going to pick? Let's look at some more current news and then we'll call it a day. What's Kathy Wood saying? One of the things we look for in new technology is falling costs and accelerating uptake. That's certainly Solana. Yes, it is. Accelerating uptake. More and more people are using it. Yes. Fidelity says Bitcoin's bull market driven by record ETF inflows, which we just covered. So yes, it is. $1 billion last week. Is set to redefine its role in modern investment portfolios. Yeah. I think people are waking up, you know. People are realizing that governments can just print money forever. Its value will trend to zero over time. Bitcoin won't do that. 1.2 billion. Oh, is this the guy? That's the guy. That's James. Oh, here he is. Here it is here. Here it is here. I'll just change the camera angle. All right, that's better. Now, yeah, so these are all S's and B's, right? So that's his sells and buys. So he bought the dip here and he bought here, and then things were going all right. What chart is this? The 5-minute chart. God, he's actively buying it. Oh, okay. I thought he just had a position. He was sitting on it. Anyway, doesn't matter. So the total position value is almost 1.2 billion. He's on 40x leverage, if you can see that. The market price is 107. His liquidation price is 104,984. So almost 105. He's sitting on negative 17.5 million. He has a funding debt of 4.4 million. So his actual loss, I think you add those two together, unless, I'm not sure if Hyperliquid include that number in the P&L or not. Yeah, so his margin, he's using almost 30 million of margin. He was in profit before, like way up here, like something like 10 or 15 million or something. And Trump, if he didn't say that, he'd be all right. So now he's back here again. Yeesh. So many people want to call a bottom. I think it's too early to do so. Ooh, Jim Cramer reckons it's not the bottom yet. Well, you know the legend of inverse Cramer. I think that might be it, Might be the bottom. Oh yeah, there was another Truth Social post that Trump was saying that he didn't want Apple to make products in India. He wanted them to make them in America. And if they didn't, I think it was like 25% or something, they're going to put a tariff on them. So let me get this straight. If Apple makes an iPhone in India to sell in New York, it gets a 25% penalty. But if Samsung makes a Galaxy in South Korea to sell in New York, it gets a 10% penalty. So we're giving a 15% price advantage to foreign companies. And this is to make America great again. That's true. That's what will happen. Oh, yeah. So interesting stress test for the Hyperliquid risk engine as $1 billion perp long is in a bit of danger. Yes, it is in a bit of a danger. We just looked at it. Hyperliquid's never had to deal with something of this size being liquidated yet. Wonder what happens. Right. Okay, so Dime's saying that he closed his Sui long and he closed his ETH long. Ooh, he's getting a bit worried. Rick Rubin and Anthropic are writing a book on vibe coding. Have you done vibe coding before? I've been doing it a bit. It's good fun. The trick is you need to be very clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve and how you want it achieved. If you just say, make me an app that tracks my budget, like that's pretty open and vague, right? But if you say, create me an app that tracks my budget, it has a window here, it adds up numbers this way, it divides things into categories, blah, blah, blah. If you do all that, you'll get a much better result. So it's more about thinking and communication and problem solving than it is finding the right model. Right? Although that is important, but it's not the be all and end all. Because it's just a roll of the dice. The LLM has to go, okay, what would I do? Oh, okay, we'll build it like this. And it does exactly what you say, build me a budgeting app, and it does. It just might look like shit, right? But you didn't say anything about that, so it fulfilled the thing that you asked it to do. Tesla now holds 1.2 billion worth of Bitcoin. Not only because the value went up, they didn't buy any more, did they? I don't think so. Went to the account of a popular CT trader who vocally called that we already topped for the cycle and they are all in fiat. They did this not at the top, but after the Trump tariff crash. This dude was bear posting non-stop. Guess what I found when I went back? Most tweets deleted. Still some left, but far majority all gone. The dude literally sidelined and coping the whole way up, still tweeting that we are nearly the top. Many such cases. I definitely said that we were in month 3 of a 2-year bear market, but I didn't delete any of the tweets. This actually wasn't about you, bro. It was about a real trader. Have you ever seen a dead body? Oh my God. So good. So good. This obviously won't make much sense to you if you don't know who this person is. Suffice to say, the only thing you need to know is that this person is a really big account on CT, and they said it was over and were bear posting during that tariff thing. But it was someone else that Clouded is talking about. I wonder who that was. Anyway, I think that's it for today. So have a good weekend. Hopefully this Euro tariff thing just blows over and we can just get on with things. Otherwise, it's going to be a long 6 months. Talk to you soon.